Do you yearn for travel that involves outdoor adventure and learning? I do. I also have a passion for all things farming and agriculture. I've traveled to exotic jungles to learn about growing chocolate. I even once owned my own organic vegetable and sunflower farm. And now I'm planning my journey back to agriculture. Agritourism, defined as travel that involves some type of agricultural experience. Agritourism is all about entertaining. But the marketing strategist in me knows that, at its core, agritourism is really about educating, and education affects change. My future farm needs to deliver a profound experience to all of its visitors. It needs to educate people about food, health, and climate. Join me to learn from experienced agritourism farmers and entrepreneurs and help me build my future farm strategy. And who knows, maybe one day soon you'll find yourself in a tropical jungle cutting open cacao pods with a machete, or savoring an outdoor plant-to-plate community dinner with 100 guests at a farm in Illinois. So let's tap into the agritourist in you. There are some conversations that leave you thinking differently long after the recording ends. And my talk with Megan Neubauer was exactly that kind of conversation. I first interviewed Megan in episode 6, and her perspective stuck with me. So reconnecting with her felt like catching up with someone whose work and impact has continued to grow right alongside the movement she's helping shape. Megan has this incredible ability to zoom out to the big picture, the future of agriculture, the health of our soils, the role consumers play in shaping food systems, while still staying deeply grounded in the everyday realities of farming. Her journey from growing up all over the world to building a pick-your-own farm in Texas gives her a perspective that feels both global and deeply personal. What inspires me most is how she bridges worlds: farmer and educator, grower and storyteller, realist and optimist. This episode isn't just about farming methods or business models. It's about connection, to land, to food, and to each other. Megan reminds us that small farms matter, that the way we grow food has real environmental impact, and that ordinary people have more power than they think through the choices they make. I walked away from this conversation feeling hopeful, energized, and reminded why these stories and the people living them are so important to share. This is Jen Ross, your Agritourist podcast host. Subscribe and leave us a review. And please enjoy my follow-up chat with Megan Neubauer. Hello. How are you?
I'm so
cold?
good.
Is it cold down there? I think the whole country.
I honestly, and we can handle like the cold. Of course, I don't have to really be out in it. I don't have much growing, but it's the ice that we don't have the infrastructure for. So anytime we get precipitation, any kind of snow, any kind of ice, my kid has been out of school all week. And tomorrow's a maybe, just because there's this much frozen precipitation on the ground. So, I mean, we're surviving.
We're supposed to get another, there's this potential of this bomb cyclone.
Great.
I'm like, just what a name. I'm like, where do they come up with this? But honestly, it's supposed to be some major blizzard off the northeast coast. I'm like, oh God, okay. Same time frame as last week, Sunday to Monday. So I'm like, okay. You know what?
Great.
I always say it's really it's that January, February time frame. March sometimes, and we've had the occasional April, but it goes away quickly. It doesn't, it's like it comes, it goes, it melts quickly, but it's that January, February for us that's like intense. It can be intense. It's been a few years since we had this much snow.
Really?
Yeah. We've actually gotten away with, we realize now how much we've gotten away with in the last few years, but
isn't that interesting? And there's like my brother's in Colorado and there's nothing. It's been in like the 70s. The whole ski industry is suffering really badly because it's just dirt.
Wow.
Really.
Wow. That's interesting.
Bizarre.
Everything's bizarre these days.
Everything's bizarre these days.
So I want to catch up with you. Your book, I have recommended to so many people.
Thank you.
I always go back and reference it. And I'm actually working with a farm this season up in Massachusetts, and they do pick your own. They have a ton of berries. It's a very large berry farm, and they do pick your own flowers, like on a smaller scale. But I want to, probably not this season, but I think I would like to introduce the concept of pick your own vegetables. I definitely have been referencing back to your book. So tell me what's happened, because I know you've done some groups and you've been helping some people along. Just give me a perspective of what happened. I know you have a lot going on with the book specifically. What manifested from that, and what have you seen from feedback from people and stuff like that?
It has been a really interesting and wonderful process because you spend all this time creating something, right? And then you just kind of nudge it out into the world, and then it takes a life of its own, and it's going to find people in different ways. I've heard from a lot of people that have found it through podcasts, like yours, and I did a whole bunch of podcasts when it first came out. And then obviously with Acres, I get a lot of exposure there to the whole Acres audience and through the magazine. So I started hearing from people, and what I loved is that I'm really hearing from people all over the world, which is, I grew up internationally, so it's really fun to hear. I've got somebody in Sweden, I've got somebody in Amsterdam, I've got somebody in New Zealand, I've got, people in
Wait,
Canada,
where
I've got
did you
people all
grow
over the
up? I
place.
don't remember talking about that. Maybe we did. And
I grew up in, my mother is from the Caribbean. So
okay.
I'm a dual citizen. She's from Trinidad and Tobago. And then my father was in petroleum exploration, actually. So we were in the Middle East for a couple years.
Oh,
We
wow.
were in Australia for one, Indonesia for three, and I went to all of high school in Thailand. So I'm a proper third culture kid. After I graduated high school, they went on to Hungary for 5 years. They were in Budapest, and then they went on to New Zealand for a couple of years after that. And then dad retired and became a dirt farmer with me.
Wow. Okay. Like I didn't, for some reason, yeah, I guess we missed all that. I mean, wow,
Yeah.
what perspective. Like that
Yes.
brings a whole, because I just traveled, I've traveled more domestically in the Caribbean and Central America. And I just ventured to Italy from a farming perspective, Sicily, and I'm going back to Sicily and Tuscany farming focused trips. And what perspective that provides you. So just before we go back to the pick your own and the global impact, I guess what has that taught you? Like especially being in America and having a child in America and you know, what just what are some learnings from that? What are some things that you've brought back that maybe have also you've put into your business? Because I've heard a lot of people, I've interviewed people. There was one in particular, Locavore Farm, Rachel. She lived internationally too when she was younger, and she said that like the like meals were such a component of the day and it brought family together. And she goes, when she's here, that wasn't happening. And that's what she's integrated into her business because she wanted to bring that feeling back, that feeling of family and coming together at meals and stopping and talking and communicating and connecting. And so I'm just curious your perspective because you've been to very unique countries.
Yeah, I love that. Food is it's literally common ground, right? We all eat, every single country has a cuisine that's unique to them, that's important to them, that's ingrained in their culture and in their people, that they miss when they're away from, that they share with other people, right? As a way to get to know each other. I just think that it's also such an anchor when you're away, right? Like when you're a little kid, I remember being 8 years old in Syria, and they spice their meat differently, right? They've got their own flavor. So, but being 8 years old, an 8 year old little American kid, I remember the burgers were always spiced, right? With that, like, cumin and Aleppo pepper and all the the cinnamon, all the distinct Middle Eastern spices, and being like, what is this? When you're 8 years old and you just want like a happy meal. So it was just exposure, like, hey, everybody doesn't do it the way that you do it. Okay, there are a million ways to do things. And it just from the beginning put some respect in me that was like, okay, there's not one right way to make a burger. Okay, everybody's got a different way to make a burger, and that's okay. I definitely carry that through farming, right? Even regeneratively, there are so many different ways to get to the same outcome. And I don't have that sort of, it's not a purity contest, right? You don't have to do everything 110% for it to be good and to be, to make a great meal, to make something you could share with people, something that maybe they might not have ever been exposed to before, never heard of before. But you know what? It can all be really, really good. And being international, you just get it's just exposure more than anything. You end up with so much exposure to different ways people live, different ways, means of transportation, different kinds of food, obviously, different kinds of housing, different kinds of lifestyles. Just that exposure alone, um, just makes you a little more tolerant, a little more aware, you know?
Yep, that's terrific. That's great. So you started working, you started connecting with all these farmers or people who wanted to grow across the world through your book.
Yeah, as we were talking, you mentioned Italy, and then I was like, oh wait, I have one in Spain too. There's someone in Mallorca I've been talking to. It's really, I need some to get some invites out to look at some of these farms, I think. Yeah. And agriculture is everywhere, right? And everybody does that differently. In India, we have a lot of Indian pickers. We have a good, solid Indian population here in North Texas, where I am. And we get a lot of first generation Indian pickers who come out to the farm. And we are always laughed, Dad and I always laugh because every one of them was a farmer back home. And now they're here in the States. And when, it's like a quarter acre lot or maybe even less, right? And they're growing back in India for their like immediate, like streets just
Right.
around them, hyper, hyper local. So you've got that, you've got, all different ways of doing agriculture. We just got back from Belize, actually. And
Oh,
I have never been down there. So like Belize, Costa Rica, Guatemala, all of that is like on the top of my I have to get down there and see it list. Um, and they do it differently down there too. I'm talking to people in greenhouses up where it's very, very cold in Europe. And like, well, I don't know how pick your own's going to work for you, but they're going to try it, you know? So it's very fun to see how everybody is making it fit into their own context.
now did you create a program to help people?
So what I ended up doing after I wrote the book, and the book really focused on the business model, right? Because like I said, there's a million ways to grow. I don't think there's any one prescriptive program you can give and in a box and give it to somebody and it's going to work on their farm. So originally when I wrote the book, and Dad and I talked about what we imagined was that most of the people would already be farmers. So it would be a book for people who are already market gardening and not making enough money, wanted to get out of the farmers markets, all of that. And as it turned out, I would like to figure out what the split actually is, but it seems like it's kind of half brand new farmers who are actually attracted to pick your own because of the community part. So they want to have this third place where people come together over food and learn about the environment, learn about growing plants, learn about cooking and all of that. But they have no idea how to grow. So I ended up with a big chunk of people like, wait, how do you do this? How do you do that? And I refer them out to all of the resources I use because there's a million books on how to grow.
Right.
Right. But ultimately, what we do for Pick Your Own is a little different. There are some things about the growing that we do that are specifically tailored to the Pick Your Own. So I was like, you know what? Let me just film with my iPhone a whole season, start to finish, including all of the growing practices. And from the beginning, I say, like, this is what we do. this may not work for you, but for us right here, this is what we do. And I think that people really like to be able to see what you do. There's only so much
Yeah.
explanation I can say like that. Well, you plant them this far apart and this like there's no replacement for seeing it, right?
Yep.
So I filmed the whole season last year over 2025 and I cut it into an online course. So that's on the website that you can check out. But like if you already have experience growing, you know how to grow stuff, the book is all you need.
Okay. Excellent. And through your network, have you come across any unique instances, whether globally or nationally, something that you hadn't thought of, something that someone brought to the table from a pick your own perspective?
I'm talking to a couple of people who are trying to bring a nonprofit aspect to it, which
Oh,
I love. So trying to get folks that are underserved out to the farm and build it as more of a program there and obviously share the harvest that way, which I think is a fantastic idea.
that's
Um,
great.
yeah. So that's very cool. Trying to think if
Excellent.
there's any others.
Any particular type of farm? I know when we were talking, like, obviously people are doing flowers and were there any unique types of farms that you came across that you were kind of like, oh, how is that going
I
to
have a
work?
guy, there's a guy who's row cropping regeneratively. Um, and so, corn, soybeans, all of that, which is, uh,
Wow.
I've learned so much about that through my association with Acres now. I've learned a lot about that and regenerative ranching and the massive impact, environmental impact we will have when we can get more row croppers and really big cattle ranchers and stuff converted to these agricultural operations that use so much acreage, the impact of getting those converted to regenerative. But anyway, um, and he is just adding a garden pretty much. So he's got a couple staff members. He already sells his beef on site. And so it's just going to become more of a packaged place to go, right? It's going to
Right.
draw people out to also have the pick your own activity going on and then pick up some beef, pick up some whatever, everything else
Nice.
while
I
you're.
like that. For
Yeah.
people, can you explain what acres is? Many people might not know what that is.
Yeah, Acres is the oldest periodical on I want to get the language right. I want to say they say like, it was sustainable before sustainable was sustainable and now sustainable is passe, right? So the spirit of it is environmentally conscious, eco agriculture is the phrase that they use. Since the
Okay.
70s, they've been publishing this periodical and they also run the largest online bookstore for books in the niche. So it's the books that are, by Gary Zimmer, Mark Shepard, Will Harris. You can find all of these books that are really focused on soil science and regenerative growing. It's a great kind of one-stop shop if you're looking for uh, references on growing in particular. There's some business stuff there too as well. And from like ranching to veggies to everything.
Excellent. So what else are you up to?
Yeah, I have had I complicate my life so much by getting into all kinds of different things. But I did sign a contract with another publisher to publish what is going to be my next book, which is due in about 2 months. And I'm in good shape, so I'm not worried, but it's actually going to be a cookbook slash guide to finding and buying food from your local food system. So the gist of it is to sort of explain what I find myself doing every summer in talking to my pickers and the people who come out to the farm. And I'm making connections for them, right? This food is different because this is what we do. Dad and I are using these regenerative practices because we are improving our soil. We're bringing life back into our soil. We are using cover crops. We are keeping the soil covered. We are doing all these practices that are improving our soil, helping it retain more water through droughts. It is able to tolerate much more abuse and the heat and stuff than it could. The soil doesn't crack as much. Basically, all these practices that are sequestering carbon and bringing more organic matter and deeply improving the environment on our farm and in the immediate surrounding area, right? So making the connection for consumers on their buying choices for groceries that are prioritizing places that are doing these, making these environmental impacts, right? So connecting what regenerative agriculture actually is, what the impact is on the climate, to what kind of purchasing decisions you can make as a regular old consumer. And a lot of this is just like go to the farmer's market and see what's there, right? But a lot of people don't know what a kohlrabi is. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do with 10 pounds kale that you're going to get in a winter CSA, right? They don't like beets. So it's sort of a primer on the vegetables. You know, this is what these things are. This is how they taste. This is how to cook them in a way that makes them taste good. And it also goes through, into grass-fed beef. What is it? Why does it cost more? What is the environmental impact that animal agriculture has on the soil, and why it's important to look for pasture-raised proteins, all that kind of stuff.
Excellent. That sounds terrific. And when is that
Thank you.
anticipated?
Spring 27, so just a year.
Okay. Wow. It's a process, huh?
The process. I'm about to start the photo shoots for the cookbook
Oh,
half.
wow.
It's just like it has been a journey, but it's been a lot of fun.
So yeah, I saw, I'm not sure if you're still doing them, but I saw like on Sundays when you were coming home from food shopping, you were doing posts.
Yes. Yeah, right. So my that was kind of the start of it, was like I go into the farmer's market, I'm going to show you what I'm going to buy, and then I'm going to flesh all of that out, right? As I get into closer to the book launch, then it's okay. This is what I bought at the farmer's market. This is what I did with it, right? And getting into recipes and
Yeah.
stuff. Feels very full circle for me, because the food, I was attracted to vegetable farming in the first place because of the food. And we've always been foodies. We're that kind of family. We're always talking about what's for dinner when we're making lunch. We have just always been into having really great food. So, sharing that side with other people, and how the very best food that you're going to get is going to come from your local food system, right? It's going to be the stuff that's in season, grown close to you, hopefully regeneratively, by a farmer that you know, a person whose first name you can learn, and a farm that you can go visit. And I really believe that knowing the name of a person who grows some of your food is attainable for almost every single person. Like, I'm not saying you have to go to the farmer's market and go broke, because yeah, it does cost more. But can you go buy strawberries when the strawberries are in season instead of buying them from Driscoll's? Like, yeah, you probably
Hmm.
can. Can
Yep.
you? Yeah, and it's kind of a do what you can approach,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That
Very
that's my
important.
that's my feeling. Yeah.
So how is your dad?
He's good. He's really good. He's very bored because he's been inside in the ice for the last week. But we're at the seed starting point
Yes, I
right
saw
now.
you
So
posted all your Johnnies. Was it a lot of
yes.
Johnny? Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, a lot. Gotta go
That
through
was
the
like
rest of my seed
one of
haul.
the best parts of the season when you're going through, what do I want to
The seed
buy?
catalogs.
Yes. It's addictive.
It's
It's
just
strangely
hopeful.
addictive. Yes, there
Yeah,
is.
it's just,
Yes.
I can grow these, and then the time comes and you're like, well, okay, well, that didn't work or whatever, but it's a very
Or
hopeful.
when you look at what's in the cart and the total, you're like, oh, wow.
Yes. Oh, $1,096. Okay. Well, that got out of hand. Yeah,
It always gets out of hand.
it always gets out of hand. Yeah, he's
So,
really
yeah.
well. You would know this. Anybody who has grown vegetables knows it. it is physically a beating, right? Even though pick your own has alleviated a lot of the physical strain on us, there's because we grow so much now because we push it so hard. It is still a physical strain, and I feel it now in my 40s. So dad will be 76 this summer. So
Yeah,
it's
so you
not.
can imagine.
Yes, that's
But the
what whenever I
fact,
complain.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's also, on the flip side, it's so good for him, although it is a
absolutely.
beating.
Yes, I'm trying to find the line between it keeping him young and it killing him, right? And that line is kind of
Yes, it's
getting
hard.
thinner, but so it's not, the farm has never been something that we planned to do forever. It's never been something we were going to pass down. It's not something I'm going to do without him. And we both feel strongly that ultimately the legacy of it is in sharing it with other farmers and really trying to share everything that we've learned with them so that they can, if they're interested in doing this kind of thing, be able to do it and more quickly than we could. I wish we could have gone back in time and started off with this, but we got there. This will
Yeah,
be our ninth
but
year.
look at all. I mean, I think that was part of your journey, though. I mean, you
It was.
learned and
Yeah.
then you delivered those learnings, and you're kind of taking your journey's morphing into into
Yeah.
using all of that knowledge and the trials and errors and I don't know. I think it was, what you've done is very powerful and you needed to kind of go through all that, fortunately and unfortunately.
It's,
And yeah.
you're so right. You're
And
so right.
Dad, so how long have you been doing the farm now?
We have been farming together since 2012. So that's 14 years, but this
Wow.
summer will be the ninth of the Pick Your Own.
Okay. Is
Mhm.
there a goal are you trying to get to 10? Is there
I'd
like what are
love to
you
get to
thinking?
10. I'd love to get to 10. So we'll see. There's a lot of external factors, but once I kind of get this book launched, and especially as a woman and a mother, that there's only so many things you can do and do any of them well.
Yep. Yep.
So there will be some choices
Okay.
that
Well,
come up. But
that's
we're this summer, we're all systems go. I'm about to launch my season passes in less than a month already.
yes, it kind of happens all of a sudden.
It really does. It really
Just
does. It's upon us.
so Megan, just to sum up one thing, like if what would you say right now in your life when you're kind of reflecting back and looking forward? What is the vision or the mission? Like, what are you trying, what would be the kind of that top level thing that you're trying to, or messaging that you're trying to get out there?
Agriculture has the single biggest impact on land use on the planet, right? So deforestation and the way that which a lot of it is for agriculture and the ways that we actually execute agriculture, the practices that we use have a tremendous environmental impact and impact on climate change. So we have to transition from the degenerative high tillage, high synthetic input, synthetic fertilizers, herbicides, all of that kind of stuff that is killing our soils, killing our waterways, killing our oceans, killing our air. We need to transition away from those degenerative practices to regenerative ones. Connecting that story for the consumer is really where I want to spend kind of my next act and possibly the rest of my life. And I don't necessarily think that it is going to be consumer driven change, although consumers have driven a lot of change from the, industrialized agriculture and food, big food industries, right? Demanding better food, demanding antibiotic free this or that or whatever, right? But by and large, um, the change is going to come, in my opinion, from like big structural change, policy change, right? However, if we want to live in a world where we do have small producers growing some of our food, we need to keep them alive. We need to keep them in business. We need to maintain that there are people who know how to grow things, and there are people who know how to pasture cows correctly, and there are people who know how to pasture chickens and how to grow rutabagas and all that kind of stuff. And the only way that we're going to keep those people in business is if we support them with our dollars. So my big picture is what I do at the farm every summer, which is explaining to folks, this is how we do stuff. This is why it's important. This is how you cook it and eat it. And isn't it great? And this is the impact that your decision to buy food from me, from my buddy Thomas, who does grass-finished beef, from my buddy Stephen Lynn, who have their eggs and their, the reason their microdairy, the reasons why you buying from your local food system is going to have a huge impact, much bigger impact than just, it tastes great. It's better for you nutritionally. But if we're trying to leave a planet, any kind of planet that's not just a smoking husk for our children and everyone's children who come after us, we have to change the way that we're doing agriculture globally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, very well
that's the
said.
big. You asked for a big goal, and I gave you a really big goal.
We need to put it out there, though. It ultimately is what needs to happen. And so congratulations on what you've done so far. I'm excited. I'm excited about the new book. I'm excited about, what's going on next. And we're definitely going to keep in touch.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll talk soon. Enjoy. I hope it gets warmer.
Me too.
All right. Bye, hun.
Bye-bye.
I hope our AgriTourist podcast prompts you to think more about where your food comes from, whether it be your vegetables, fruits, meats, and even those sweet treats. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with someone you think may truly benefit from or be inspired by it. Visit us at agra-tourist.com. Until next time.